because he did, and he lets us see that in different ways for different people. And I love the fact that when I look at you, I don't just see the physical beauty that he gave you, but I see your heart of love and kindness and caring for me, for the people around you. It just like
exudes, right?
It's an aura around
Right.
you of beauty and grace and kindness.
But when you started your journey, you, I think, had some experiences being bullied as a young child as well, and had some trouble seeing yourself as beautiful.
Absolutely. So just ruthlessly bullied in high school. And my mother took me out of that school and put me in a private girls' school, and it started changing things for me.
Amazing.
That's helpful.
God.
Yeah.
Glad your mother did something to change it.
Yeah, to change it, instead of doing the same thing day after day and living in fear.
Sure. But then that continued to follow you into adulthood as well.
It did. I mean, that thing about your body image, no matter what anyone tells you, you don't see it. You see something else. And so I always wanted to have big boobs.
So did you have that body image introduced to you at some point?
I remember finding a couple of Playboys under my dad's parents' bed and flipping through it. So that was in the 50s. Right. So it looked a little different than it
does today.
Later.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, these women are so beautiful, and that must be, my dad thinks so too, And so that image always stuck with me of the perfect body and what that looked like. And so when breast implants became available, I was like the first to sign up, very young.
Trying to reach that standard of beauty.
So 18 years old.
Wow.
And so when I got them, after maybe a year, I realized that I had made a big mistake. And there's no turning back. I'm stuck. And when I decided that I just can't take it anymore, I called the doctor. I said, I have to get these things out. And he goes, well, nobody's gotten them out.
Right.
And
wow.
Is it getting told, oh, by the way, that's hopeless.
It's
you
permanent.
Can't change that.
You can't get them out. Nobody's done that. And so he talked me into reduction.
Okay.
Get them out and get a smaller one, because he explained the horror of what I would look like. And he said, you're too young to have raisins on your chest, shriveled up.
That's what he tried to put it into your fear.
Big picture. And then so now I'm living in fear with that, so I agreed to reduction. And then I think maybe 2 months after that, I was just like, this is not working. I cannot live with this. And it was at that point that I recognized a huge shift in my self-esteem. When it snapped me. When I decided, I really don't care what I look like. I have to be me, no matter what.
Wow.
It was at that moment that my self-esteem went from low to what I call normal. Not high, but just I'm me and I'm proud of it. And I don't care if I have raisins. It's just what it is. And I told the doctor that, and I went back and had them taken out, and it wasn't anything like what he said. Nothing.
Right.
It was like normal.
Wow.
Well, because you were still young
Praise
enough
God.
that the skin has resiliency, your body adapts, and here they are painting this horrible picture as if you're some much, much older person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a doctor should know better.
Yeah, he said I look like a 90-year-old woman.
Whatever.
And he had never had anybody want him out.
Right. Well, he also didn't know, so he's apparently just going off of what he believed.
Yeah.
Right, rather than the truth.
So where in that time frame were you Playboy Bunny? Was it before that, during that, after that?
I became a Playboy Bunny, I'd say probably 2 months after I got them. And it was coincidence, because when I got them, I wasn't planning on being a Playboy Bunny, but opportunity came to me.
Right.
And my girlfriend said, we're going up to Wisconsin. We're going to try out for the Playboy Club, and come with us. So I went, well, snap, I got the boobs, I can do this. So I did that and immediately got hired. And
wow. It's amazing having the body that you thought was the standard, and then being chosen to represent the standard of this same standard of beauty, and you still did not have the self-esteem that you wanted.
Not at all.
Until you actually chose you for
Over
yourself over all the rest of that stuff. And to me, that is it's just so cool that you came to that realization. You were still really young. A lot of people don't come to any acceptance. I didn't come to a true acceptance of who I was until, 39. Like this is recent history for me to start seeing myself differently. And it's not until the last couple of years that I've actually just been settled. Like, you can like how I look or not. That's kind of your problem. I get to choose if I like how I look or not. And I'm going to choose that I like it. And that really helps me see it differently. But you did that at such a young age.
Right.
That you went from being bullied and went from making choices and then going, but this isn't my choice. This isn't what I want to do anymore. And then you made a different choice, and then you followed through on that choice despite the medical nightmares they're painting and everything else. And you chose a lifestyle to represent the beauty and the looks that you had to celebrate it, but then you also made a choice not to go national on that platform.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
And
because they picked me as Bunny of the Year for that club. And
which included a national competition.
Yeah,
right?
it was going to international, I guess. International.
Okay.
Wow.
And they said, well, you've got to be on TV in LA to represent. And I went, no, it's not going to happen. And then they had to pick someone else. But I realized, as you're talking, that fear made me choose what I did. And when I stepped out of fear in that place where I don't care what I look like, I moved out of fear. And so the decisions of keeping the implants was based on fear. And when I, faced fear, it's like, no, out,
Amen.
My no is my no,
But then you didn't just start standing up for yourself. You started leading the way to stand up for other people. And to me, that is such an amazing step when you're leading the way in a whole brand new way. So tell us about the first lawsuit. And
isn't it ironic that it was breast implant class action?
Right. Is where you started as an advocate. Yeah.
And so we had my two best friends. We all got implants at the same time. So it was the Three Musketeers.
Right.
So one of them was dying, and she came to me.
Were the implants poisoning her?
Yes.
Or okay.
Wow.
And she brought a box of her medical records and said, I'm dying, you need to help me. She had tried for months to get signed up with the class action.
Right.
And so and I tried to help her, and there was nothing. So I went to an attorney and said, here's her box of medical records, let's do this. So he said, well, if you do it, you can do it, and I'll back you. So I did it, and got hundreds and hundreds of women across the United States classifications and money for their class action. And my friend died.
Which is so sad.
I was able to get her $60,000 for her child, but it was the implants.
Wow.
Which is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. But you didn't stop there. I mean, you stood up for yourself, and then you stood up for your friend, and then you stood up for hundreds of women, and then you even went on from there and were involved in other class actions. Erin Brockovich, yeah, absolutely. It's a great that's a great comparison they made there.
Yeah.
So standing up for people like that is empowering people to stand up for themselves. Because as they joined, then they're also...
Yeah, and that was a real class for me, too, because I realized I was kind of shy and didn't want to speak up for myself. And the fact that I was a voice for hundreds of women, I mean, nobody messed with me. The doctors that I had to work with, I said, this is how it's done, and this is what you're going to do.
Wow.
And so I became very strong with my voice because I had hundreds of women behind me, and I had to be there for them. And that changed me also. have a voice.
Right, to have to use it.
To have to use it, not be afraid to use it.
Right, and take that on and embody that. Was there a moment for you where you felt in that process that you were actually blooming?
Oh, yes. I mean, I remember speaking with one of the rheumatoid specialists, and I said, will you give these women the classification? You know, they're going to be coming to you. And he said yes, and I educated him. And after 6 of them went, and he didn't give them a category, I had a really strong discussion with him, and it changed. So that was pivotal. That's where I guess I snapped. With the breast implants, I snapped and I went, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I snapped with him, and through that snapping and, you know, spanking him verbally,
right,
he behaved and did the proper thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that empowered you the next time you needed to stand up to go, now wait a second, you're not going to mess with me, you're not going to mess with the women I represent. Like, being able to stand up like that, and having been a part of a federal lawsuit myself personally, not a class action, but in a way when it was a broken little girl standing up to a guy that no one had stood up to in any way, and to know the courage it takes, and to know what you've done to help other people do that is amazing. Like, truly, in my world, it's like, wow. And you started doing that so young, and you just worked to change the world in that place of choosing the next right thing to do, the next important thing to do. It's awesome, and I think that's part of why that confidence and that glow you have, where you care about other people, and it just shines through you, is really neat.
And that's why you're our ex-victim of the week, Cindy. Paula, tell her what she's won.
You're an ex-victim of bullying, no matter what, because that is a huge issue. The number of girls now that commit suicide because they have been shamed and put down and attacked that way. And instead of it destroying you, you took every bit of that and ended up standing up for people that couldn't stand up for themselves, for shining a light, for taking a stand, and going through your journey that way. So you get the ex-victim tattoo that goes with mine, because, you know, we think you should, with the chocolates and the tissues that show that our journey's emotional in this process as women, as we go through this. And we're thrilled that you're here and with us, and that you are just owning who you are, and your beauty, your strength. And
you know, and God tells us that He has not given us a spirit of fear. He's given us power, love, and sound mind with His Holy Spirit, and you have embodied that on your journey so well, and shown again how standing up and owning this has made a difference.
It makes it where you can actually use the fertilizer of your past, is what we talk about, because we all have different types of fertilizer, so that we can bloom today.
A free PDF copy of the Bloom in the Dark book and a full list of Bloom Today's coaching tools can be found on bloomtodaytv.com. Then visit Bloom Today's Facebook group for deeper conversation.